considering this loom that we're looking at the moment, because I would like to suggest a couple of influences into that loom, which is bound with generational understanding. My mother was born in 1925, and she was brought up in a society that really didn't have priority for women in the society. And one of the things I could see that I inherited from my mother was there was not really an internal belief in herself. She was a woman, like many women at the time, were not prioritized in school, and she could read and write, but hence she didn't really felt that she was contributing to society as the men did, because the men were the working force at that time, and so I come from a generation of women where that age showed clear signs of not having self-value and self-confidence. And because I inherited that, there was a gap between where I was really supposed to be as someone being 25 and the lack of influence that generation were meant to pass on to me. So that's one of the aspects of female standing in society that is really coming from far off, because it seems like it has been diverted for a long time. So that's one thing I would really like to introduce into this. And the second thing was actually Boaz, who mentioned the word competition. When I was young, I attended the technical university, and there were not many girls there. I thought that was great, but the other side of the coin in this was that because there were a lot of men attending with ambitions, and so did I have, the university, I soon realized displacement in our situation, men and ladies, because it seemed that I had to work double hard to get equal measured according to the men. And there are numerous of times where I had to stand, or I found myself last in the queue. And I had to have better grades than most of the men there to even have the same respect as they were showing between each other. So there's displacement that goes way back also in generations, and I don't see that so easy to fix. So yeah, that's one of the inquiries I'm puzzling with, is the inheritance from generations that really shows things have been going off a track that I really didn't know what was, but that I was looking for, and how to find that track in myself, because in my experience, I come from a family with a long string of disastrous patterns in marital trends. So I haven't had the mole model to look for in this. That means can't find the role models in society because there's a displacement already. And so I found myself surrounded by things being off track, and how to find the balance and the track in myself. That was bothering me quite a lot. Yeah, so I thought I'd put that in because I think these are also very important influences in the loom of what we're looking at.
So what would you say then attracted you about the inquiry of chivalry? Because what is compelling about, as you're saying, the loom that begins to form here, there are the lines of inquiry that are to do with what's natural or what's right, or how are we as human beings to discover what is naturally arising mutual respect between the genders, but also inside the genders and all people to all people. And that has a sense of, is there a way to find in a very polarized postmodern world where everything has become subjective and everybody can reason for themselves what is true or not true, and there is no longer the sense of a whatever used to be viewed as a unified set of standards or higher truths, largely thrown, the baby thrown with a bathtub and all the rest of it in the revolution that started into the 60s of the 20th century and so on. So there is that search to find and reconnect or rethread some sense of what is the place of values, what is the place of appreciation of human life, and how can we actually demonstrate it in the way we conduct ourselves with each other. And then there is the adjacent, as critical, as important line of inquiry that you bring in what you just offered, which is the sense of so many things getting off track. Generationally, for humanity, and certainly in how women were held back, and how that needs still remediating.
Yes.
And dare I say, how part of the remedy efforts of the women liberation movements of the last 60 years in some ways brought tremendous progress and success in certain aspects, but in other aspects created a new kind of conflicts, a new kind of challenge. So all that side of the equation, which I didn't think we were going to go into necessarily in this first exploration, but it is naturally arising. In the middle of that, I'm asking us to consider something that many people will truly look at outdated, anachronistic, and belongs to the past. And so in the context of what you were describing there, what drew you to the inquiry of chivalry? Why? Why was that important?
I don't know if that word was the importance.
Right.
I had other words for it. So it's a bit like you have an orange and you peel the orange and there is something inside that shows a different nature. That was a bit like that for me. I found that one of the oranges I knew I could trust to look at was I'm sorry, I lost that one. It just disappeared.
You were looking for another word in the word cloud of chivalry. Was it to do? Was it to do with honor? Was it to do with respect? Was it to do with value for people's, for humans' life? What was it to do with? What was the inner thread?
Thank you. So I was looking for other words that could somehow guide me into something that I could trust looking at. And the words I was looking for was equality, for example. The word equality, what does that mean if it doesn't mean the Red Sox? What does it mean if it's not extremist right-wing policy. What does it mean, equality, if it's not bound on gain and loss of what the genders mutually exploit from each other? So I was looking for what can be a natural outlet of equality between the genders. And there must be something in this world I can trust, because I know I've got 10 fingers. So there must be a system somehow that I can trust, that I can find, that gives indications of what is a natural human being, that doesn't need to have a political agenda in the back pocket. And so equality was one of the first words that got me interested in the orange, so to speak. But on the way of that journey, I realized that chivalry had a set of code of conducts and behavior that would indicate back in time a way of behavior between men and ladies that was not written about in the history books, that was not written about in the school books that I was introduced to. So it was really a search at the same time for something that was showing me from a natural standpoint, how does nature work in this, and how do I really develop the art of living inside this, because I want to be an expression of the art of living as a female. And I want to learn what it means to give space to the art of living as a male. So I had to understand that inside both this strange orange. But I think it was modern words that got me interested in the first place. But I realized that going back, that because history very often is written by the conquerors, those who won the battle, it was another facet of history that I was looking for, and that got me into chivalry.
Thank you. Please, Nigel, come on this in any choose.
Yes. Hello. The key avenue into chivalry for me is through the aspect of honor. I've always been drawn to honor and being honorable. And at first I didn't understand why. But from where I am now, in reflecting on being born human, I see we have two great privileges, one of consciousness and one of choice. And my consciousness says to me that I didn't create me. So my life is a gift. And it also says to me that merits a response if I am to be honorable. And I mean, just the faculty of choice says that I am not subject to my history, and that I'm only limited by my choices. And I feel in myself a great urge to refine, to make better of myself. And I believe that is in all humans, just from those two faculties of choice and consciousness. Another great urge in me is that humans come together in safety. But our world is built on personality. And we know that we're each unique. So how can we come together in personality? I don't see it's possible. But we all have living in us qualities. And we can come together if we make those the center of our life. Simple things like care, respect, patience, dignity. So it seems to me that the first place of chivalry is simply to make choices about what one bases one's life on, and to not give less a response to having the privilege of life. And simply by making choices, life moves from anything goes, which looks like our modern world, to, well, I'll use the word purpose. But I think everyone wants to feel useful. And that to me is what the essence of purpose is. Useful to each other, useful to life. I go and visit my grandchildren every week, and there's two-year-olds, and I'm doing jobs around the place. And they're always saying, "Can I help? Can I help?"
Mm.
And I really wonder, where has that gone in the 16-year-old that comes out of school? Because it's not so evident, and it's not been reinforced by their education. But we can still make choices and hold the best of each other. Because one is holding the best of oneself as a starter. And we all fall over and fail, it's part of life, but if we can hold the best of each other for those times when we might need it, then I feel that life could be very different.